Welcome to an extraordinary journey, a story filled with dreams, betrayal, slavery, power, and redemption. This is the story of Joseph, a man whose life changed the course of history, not just for himself, but for an entire nation. Imagine being born into a large, wealthy family, one of 12 sons, and you're not just any son, you're the favorite. Your father, Jacob, loves you more than your brothers. He gives you a special gift, a coat of many colors, a symbol of his affection. But this gift, this love, creates a fire of jealousy among your siblings. They despise you for the favor you've earned. But Joseph, in his innocence, doesn't seem to notice. His dreams, however, would spark a chain reaction that no one could have ever predicted. Joseph was a dreamer, literally. One night he had a dream. In his dream, he and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain in the field, when suddenly his sheaf stood up tall, and their sheaves gathered around his and bowed down. The next day, Joseph, with excitement, shared the dream with his brothers. "Can you imagine?" he said. "In my dream, you were all bowing down to me." As you can imagine, this didn't go over well. The brothers' jealousy burned hotter. But Joseph didn't stop there. He had another dream. A dream where the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. And again, he shared this with his family. Even his father Jacob, who loved him so dearly, was taken aback. "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you?" Little did anyone know, these dreams were a glimpse into a destiny far greater than any of them could imagine. One day, when Joseph was sent to check on his brothers, their jealousy reached its peak. Seeing him approach from afar, they conspired to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they sneered. "Let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits. We'll tell father a wild animal devoured him. Let's see what becomes of his dreams then." But Reuben, the eldest, intervened. "Let's not kill him, throw him into this pit, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuben secretly planned to rescue Joseph later, but things didn't go according to Reuben's plan. As Joseph approached, his brothers seized him, stripped off his coat, the coat that symbolized everything they resented, and threw him into a dry pit, helpless, alone, betrayed by his own flesh and blood. As they sat down to eat, a caravan of Ishmaelite traders passed by, heading to Egypt. And so Joseph, the dreamer, was sold for 20 pieces of silver and taken as a slave to Egypt. His brothers smeared goat's blood on his beautiful coat and presented it to their father. Jacob was devastated, his beloved son gone, torn apart by a wild beast, or so he believed. Joseph's life as a free man was over, or so it seemed, but this was just the beginning of his story. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, a captain of Pharaoh's guard. Despite his circumstances, Joseph excelled. Everything he touched prospered, and Potiphar noticed. Soon, Joseph was placed in charge of Potiphar's entire household. His integrity and work ethic made him stand out, and the Lord was with him. But trouble was brewing. Potiphar's wife noticed Joseph too. She was captivated by his appearance and strength, and day after day she tried to seduce him. But Joseph, a man of deep integrity, refused. "How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" he would say. But one day she cornered him. Grabbing his cloak, she demanded he lie with her. Joseph fled, leaving his cloak behind, but Potiphar's wife used this as evidence to falsely accuse him of assault. In a cruel twist of fate, Joseph, who had risen so high, was thrown into prison. But even in prison, Joseph prospered. The prison warden soon noticed Joseph's abilities and put him in charge of all the prisoners. Once again, the Lord was with Joseph, and while in prison, Joseph's gift of interpreting dreams would become crucial. One day, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker were thrown into the same prison. They both had troubling dreams, and Joseph, sensing an opportunity, interpreted them. For the cupbearer, the news was good. In 3 days, he would be restored to his position. For the baker, not so much, he would be executed. And both interpretations came true, just as Joseph had said. Joseph pleaded with the cupbearer, "When you are free, remember me, mention me to Pharaoh. Help me get out of this prison." But once free, the cupbearer forgot Joseph. Years passed, and Joseph remained forgotten. Until Pharaoh had a dream. Pharaoh was troubled by his dreams. 7 fat cows followed by 7 lean ones, and 7 healthy ears of grain devoured by 7 thin ones. No one in Egypt could interpret the dreams, And then the cupbearer remembered. "There is a man in prison," he told Pharaoh, "who can interpret dreams." Joseph was summoned. Standing before Pharaoh, Joseph made it clear, "I cannot interpret your dream, but God can." And so, Joseph explained, the 7 fat cows and healthy grain represented 7 years of abundance, the 7 lean cows and thin grain, 7 years of famine. Joseph advised Pharaoh to store up grain during the years of plenty, so Egypt would survive the years of famine. Pharaoh was so impressed by Joseph's wisdom and insight that he elevated him to the 2nd highest position in Egypt. Joseph, the slave, the prisoner, was now Pharaoh's right-hand man, and as predicted, 7 years of plenty came, followed by 7 years of famine. But here's where the story gets even more incredible. Back in Canaan, Joseph's brothers and father were suffering. The famine had reached them too. Desperate, Jacob sent his sons to Egypt to buy grain. And there, unknowingly, they stood before Joseph, the brother they had betrayed, now unrecognizable in his position of power. Joseph recognized them immediately, but he didn't reveal himself. Instead, he tested them. He wanted to see if they had changed. And after a series of emotional encounters, Joseph could no longer contain himself. With tears streaming down his face, he revealed his identity. "I am Joseph, your brother, the one you sold into slavery." His brothers were speechless, terrified. Would Joseph seek revenge? But Joseph, in an astonishing act of grace, forgave them. "You intended to harm me," he said, "but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." And just like that, Joseph's dreams had come true. His brothers did bow before him, but not in fear or submission, rather in awe of how God had worked through Joseph's life to save them all. Joseph's story is one of resilience, faith, and the incredible power of forgiveness. From the pit to the palace, Joseph's journey reminds us that even in the darkest moments, when everything seems lost, there is a greater plan at work. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the life of Joseph. His story is a testament to the fact that no matter how far we fall, no matter how hopeless things may seem, there is always hope. And in the end, we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Thank you for watching the Great Wise God Bible channel. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel for more great content about the Bible. Until next time, keep loving one another.